Are we live? Ow.
Says we're live. How's your back? Dude, you still good from all that carrying all that stuff?
Oh, back's good. Neck's like killing me, man. Let's see here. Are we alive? Anybody in the chat right now? Oh boy. My chat window not working. It's not showing anything.
Maybe we're not live anymore.
We're not live. Oh shoot. There we go. All right, here we go. Here we go. Morgan, what's going on? Danny No is in the house. Ron, what is up from Mass? Kerwin, what's going on? Dominic's here. Joe's here. Victor Collin is here. There we go. All right. Whew. Thought we had some trouble with the streams. Just really quickly, for those of you guys who are watching after the fact, make sure to check in the description box below or the top comment for the time codes of what we'll be talking about today. And just to brief you guys, what we'll be talking about today, our first impressions on the Sigma Art lenses for the Sony E-mount. Danny and I got a chance to shoot with those lenses at Anime Expo this past week. Got some portraits of some cosplayers. We got some previews tonight on the show, but we'll have more photos coming out on our respective channels when we have those videos released.
Yep.
Cool.
A lot of dope content. Fire content.
See here. D-Lou says, I just returned my Sigma 50 Sony E today. Was way too heavy for my noodle arms. No way. Did you felt the weight of the lens, Danny? Was it too much for you?
You know what, man? To be honest, since we're like, oh wait, do you think the Sigma? I forget. Is the Sigma and the Sony about the same weight? You felt?
I like to think it is. The only thing that was like a massive difference was obviously the 85s, but I felt like the 35s and the 50s are relatively the same weight. Well,
the 85 for sure was a very, very different.
Yeah.
The Sigma and the Sony G Master. Very, very different there. I don't know, man. I don't seem about the same between the two.
Let's see here. Matt Fan says final show.
Awesome. Always, man. It's always the final show. We never know.
We're always just hanging on by the thread. Look who's in the background, by the way. Hey. I don't know. It just creates a nice out of focus bokeh in the back, so I just left it on.
Nice.
Jelly says, watching for my 4K TV. Are we still potato quality? Let us know.
I hope not. I hope not.
Pink Room Studios. Any full frame lenses? What do you mean?
We'll talk about full frame lenses with the Sigma.
Oh yes. Pink Room. Oh, sorry, we read that already.
Miseratu says the 35 Art had bad autofocus. Had to send mine back. It would lose focus pretty frequently. Way lower quality than what I was expecting.
That's pretty interesting because I had. I mean, it didn't perform as well as the Zeiss, and compared to the 50 and the 85 Sigma Art, but the autofocus wasn't too bad on my end.
Yeah.
Pete Wong. Yo, Jason, it's Pete Wong from Hong Kong. Nice. Morgan Treester, are you reviewing photo and video? Yes, more so on the photo aspect than the video aspect. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about that tonight. Adrian Thomas, is the 50mm that heavy? It's not too bad.
It's all relative. I mean, in terms of the size, in terms of its body to size ratio to the camera body, it is large, but it's not crazy, I would say.
And for those of you who are just joining in, this is still the pre-show. We're just answering some questions before the show starts. We're starting the show at 7 p.m. So just hang on tight. If you have any questions for me and Danny right now, go ahead and just drop it in the chat. Moving on, Matt Fan says, Danny's hair is high tonight.
Let me lower it down a little bit here.
Danny just woke up from his nap.
Oh, yeah. That was a great nap.
We were so tired. So we had to carry like I had to carry 6 lenses in my backpack. Danny had like a messenger bag full of stuff too.
What was
So
it? Day two, I had the Peak Design bag fully stuffed, and then I had the Peak Design Messenger bag as well. And you'll see in some of our B-roll footage that we post later or in future vids, then there was a lot of stuff we were bringing, man. We were packing it, dude.
I don't know why we did that.
We had to, man. We had to make that dope fire content, man. We had to find it.
I don't know how you can do it with just like a shoulder bag. I can't imagine what it felt like for like one shoulder for you.
I think because it was balanced on the opposite side, so it kind of balanced out the weight on the bag, so it wasn't too bad. It was fine.
Ah, I see.
But you remember I was trying to like stretch my back out every now and then. You saw that, like,
Oh, I was doing
but
this the whole time. At one point, I was holding the light for Danny, and I was just like, hold on, Danny. I got to put this down, man. My neck's killing me.
don't ask Jason to hold your light for you.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst voice control light ever. Danny knows says Danny's stream is an all-time high quality. New
Dude,
internet?
you just jinxed it, man. You just jinxed it.
It just literally dropped to potato quality right now. Jelly says, missing the potato quality. It's coming. The potato quality is coming.
Just wait. Just wait.
JW Woon, should I get the 24mm 1.4 art or the 25 Bodice F2 for wedding gimbal shots? It really depends what kind of gimbal you have. If you have the Crane Plus, then you might want to go with the Bodice because the 24 art is pretty damn heavy. If you have the Crane 2, you could go for the 24 1.4 art. However, I have not tested it in terms of autofocus, so I can't really confirm if it works really well. But from the test that Danny and I did yesterday with the 35, 50, 85, it seems like tracking autofocus with the Sigma Art isn't as good as the Zeiss or the Sony. So I would imagine the 24 be very similar to that.
Yeah, because remember, Jason, when we're doing it, when I was testing out the 85 Bodice was very quick. The Bodice stuff is quick, just very fast lenses.
Very, very reliable autofocus.
Yeah.
Attila, is the next Sony A9 going to have the newer high resolution viewer and LCD?
Already, dude, we're already talking about the next A9. It's only been out for a little over a year. Hopefully they don't update to next year, man. Actually, I really don't care. That's what Sony does.
All right. Some of our folks are saying, Adrian says 7 p.m. there, 10 a.m. here.
Oh.
And Ogax says it's 5 a.m. in Cyprus. We really appreciate you guys joining us early in the morning.
All over the world.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Waru's asking, you guys saw the Tamron 20-75 with the V2 firmware. Any focus testing on it? Unfortunately, I don't have my copy anymore. So
I'm going to have to ask B&H to send me back their copy so I can see for myself.
Yeah.
Critical point. Hey, Jason, today I searched for your video where you were talking about why you've chosen not to shoot weddings with high ISO, but instead with lights. I couldn't find it. Did you delete it? I'm going to go find that. I think you're talking about the Came TV, right? Let me see. Carmelo Dimitri, how are the plans with the Cuba trip coming along? Any relevant news about that? I think there's still some tickets left for the Cuba trip. So if you guys are interested, I don't have the links in this description box below, but if you go to my Cuba video in my video feed, you'll find that video. So hopefully there's some spots left. You can join us August 30th to September 5th, I believe. It's like a week long. It's a hybrid shooting workshop. Scott Robert Lim is going to be teaching portrait photography, and I'll be doing a little bit of optional workshop, hybrid shooting, video workshop. So you guys can make it out from August 30th to September 5th, I believe. Then, more information in that video.
Rodell saying, at that one camera guy and Jason Vong, did you guys end up finishing that pastrami fries at the hat?
Okay. It was amazing. Danny got really close to finishing it. Like, I've always have to have at least 3 to 4 people to even get to the bottom of the tray. But Danny,
that was some crazy stuff, man.
And he had a chili cheeseburger.
I did not realize, okay, I did not realize how much fries there was. So the story goes, I was telling Jason I really wanted to have some of the hat because when I was in college, I had thought I had eaten at the hat before and I wanted to get some chili cheese fries or burgers, right? But then apparently when we got there, I realized it wasn't the hat, it was actually Tommy's, right? I said Tommy's was the actual place that I'd gone to that I really liked. And Jason said, nah, the hat's much better. So we go in there and Jason's like, hey man, what do you want to get the pastrami fries or you want to get the chili fries, right? Chili cheese with pastrami. And I said, yeah. And at first Jason was looking at me and then I heard Jason say, yeah, and Jason said, I'll get a cheeseburger too or something like that. And I said, like, where's my burger at? So, and Jason's like, are you sure you want you want any more than the fries? I didn't realize how much the fries were going to be, like how much fries there was in all, Jason.
Just to give you guys a perspective, it's a shoebox load of fries. Just imagine a shoebox you get from Payless Shoe or Nike store. That's how big the fries were. It's crazy.
Dude, and then when it showed up, I was like, dude, I don't know if we're gonna finish this.
Instant regret. But Danny finished his double chili burger and like got to the bottom tray of the fries.
All right, that's what it looks like. I don't know if it pops up there or not. I know it's a little bit difficult, but yeah, it was a lot.
It's delicious though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. After 5 bites, I don't know, but
Danny's got some real gas after the fact.
Yeah, if anyone's following Jason on there, had to go to Walgreens. It worked though. It worked. Made in time.
Bob Ho says, "Damn, I didn't find you guys at AX. Was too caught up with the panels and booths."
Bob, bro, we were there. We were there like 3 of the 4 days.
Oh, yeah. You probably had more fun at the panels in the booth. Wingbird, did you guys shoot any videos with Jason's A7S III?
Can't talk about that, man.
4.6K, 60 frames per second.
That was some sick content. When they see the video B-roll, they're gonna be like, "Well, what camera was that?"
Yeah, it's the A7S III, guys. Just remember that.
I don't know. We had to hide it with a sticker or something like that. So
yeah, we had to put the A7S III inside of a Blackmagic Ursa Mini so people don't get confused. Nah, we're just messing with you guys.
Too late. Shows up on Petapixel or something.
Jason and that one camera guy apparently have used the A7S III.
Oh shit.
You know what? What's interesting is that Danny saw someone with the Nikon 105, right?
Yeah, I did see someone taking pictures with the Nikon 105.
Yeah, the Sigma Art 105 for Nikon. So that was out in the wild. Like we were like, why is this lens at an anime convention? That is strange because the lens is not even out yet, right?
I think I really think it's just barely, maybe if you know somebody, you can get your hands on it. Kind of know somebody.
Yeah, so that was out in the wild. I'm curious as to see like what those results look like.
Fathom Rocker says Tommy's Burger's the bomb, right? Fathom Rocker, it was pretty. Those are really good burgers.
Felix Figueroa, no more staying up late to watch the show now that I'm in California. Wow, welcome to Cali.
Nice.
Rodell Photo, Danny is the new Matt Stoney.
Dude, man, I watch his stuff all the time, man. I'm just like, start doing food challenges.
I watch his stuff when I'm hungry. It's bad.
It's pretty good, though.
Derek Newman, would you guys buy a 35 prime or a 50 prime over the 24-70?
Wait. What was that again? Oh, 24-70 versus 2 primes, right? Or the... It depends on your versatility, Derek, like what you're doing. If you're doing event photography or just doing, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Get all 3.
Wow. Personally, for me, I probably go with the 24-70. As of these days, I'm just using zoom lenses.
Derek, if I was going to go prime, I'd get 35-85. That's how I would roll with it. That's
Same.
Me, though.
Same.
35-85. Because I have 2 camera bodies, so it doesn't bother me. If you have, there you go. If you only have 1 camera body and you're shooting around, get the 24-70. There you go.
Chris Mega Games, Danny might have the gift of the endless gut. Do the Nathan's eating contest.
God,
Danny, how many hot dogs can you eat?
I don't want to get wrecked, man.
I'll film it 4K 60.
4.6K in the A7S III at 60p.
Bob Ho asks, okay. So we already talked about the Tamron firmware. We have not actually gotten the we don't have the lenses anymore, so we can't test the update. Mr. Ican, do you think the Sigma will release a zoom lens, maybe rival the recent Tamrons? I mean, they do have a zoom lens, the 24 to 70, 50 to 100, 18 to 35. If you're talking about the 24 to 70 for the E mount, I think that might be coming.
The only problem is I think what they're going for is maybe a lighter version that kind of matches the body shape for the A7 series cameras. I think Sigma right now is they're just taking advantage of the fact that they already have the glass and then they have the conversion with they're able to get some decent autofocus performance with their native versions of it. So maybe, but I don't think it's anytime soon. Though there is they have that Sigma 70mm art that was made with mirrorless in mind, though. So they did have that. And they do have their Sigma primes, the Sigma 16mm, Sigma 30. So maybe there's some stuff in the works. See?
All right, last question before we begin the Monday live. Will Danny start a mukbang channel? Yes. Danny has told me if he has 100,000 subscribers, he will start a mukbang channel.
I'm just going to lose subscribers. Like, please don't do that. Terrible idea.
All right, guys, welcome back to another Monday Night Live with me and that one camera guy, aka Danny. Today we'll be talking about our first impressions of the Sigma lenses, Sigma art lenses for the Sony E-mount. We got a chance to play with it all last week. Over July 4th weekend, we got the 35, the 50, and the 85 art lenses to play with for our Sony cameras. We got some sample images that we can show you guys tonight, but there will be more sample images and videos coming out very soon on our respective channels. So be sure to subscribe to Danny, that one camera guy, and stay subscribed to me, I guess.
Unsubscribe.
Those videos are coming out within the next couple of weeks, at least for my channel. So we'll definitely talk about a little bit about AX and all the new gear that we've got. So let's just start that off first. Hashtag new gear. Let us know what you picked up over the week. Yeah, we'll jump into the main topics fairly soon. So Danny, what did you pick up, man?
All right. I don't know if I talked about this already in the last show, but I did. This thing came in already. It is an Atomos Ninja Star. It's fairly old in terms of technology. Got it just for the Anime Expo stuff that we shot because I wanted to have this mounted onto a cage, which I did use. So
Danny,
for those
what does that do for people who don't know?
All right. So for people who don't know, here's your typical Atomos recorder, right? Everyone's kind of familiar with this little guy here, has an SSD, whatever, and it has a screen on here. This does the same exact thing. It just doesn't have a screen. So it just records whatever my screen is doing. And I wanted to have some footage when I was photographing the cosplayers at the actual event at the Anime Expo. So you could kind of see maybe how I'm kind of talking to them or working with them and how the photos look before and after with the lights, because we did use some lighting. So with this, you'll see the setup, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the photo is taken, you'll see how the lighting affected the actual final image. So this is really great for that, really small and compact, and I could mount it onto this thing here with the cage. So that was one thing I picked up. I'm still waiting for the Atomos Ninja 5, which I'm really, really waiting for. And then I picked this up. Oh, shoot. It's the, most of you guys noticed already, the Godox 8200. I picked up 2 of these. And if you saw our stories or what have you, you know that we were using this. We were using a twin head. So Jason will talk about that, I guess. But yeah, I had 2 of these. We were using them on a twin head adapter, and we were using it with a Parapop 38-inch softbox or octabox, whichever you want to call it. Really enjoyed using it. Very versatile. Yeah, I think that is it. I might have gotten some other things, but those are the main things. Jason.
Cool. So I personally, for Anime Expo, what we were rocking, again, Danny was talking about how he had 2 Godox 8200 lights, and I had to pick up the twin head, which allows us to attach 2 8200s to get like, a 400 watt output. So Danny doubted me. He was like, we don't need the twin head. Wait, or no, wait. Did you doubt me about the twin head, or did you doubt me about the Parapop?
I wanted to use an umbrella originally, like the Parapop itself. So I said we don't need to take the Parapop 38-inch. We could probably just set up with an umbrella, like to get the photos, and maybe use this little reflector here instead. That was one thing I was considering.
Bad
as well.
idea.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we got the twin. I got the twin head, and I also got the two Godox triggers. The new ones. What are they called again, Danny?
What are we talking about? The triggers?
The triggers. Yeah, I got the
most Pro. It's the Pro series triggers.
It's the Pro series. So I have the original one back when they first shipped out the 8600s, Flashpoint 600s. So I picked up the new ones because I've been seeing everyone have it, and it looks a lot easier to change the settings of the light. So I picked two of those up for two different cameras. That way, it's just easier to to shoot with two different setups because we're doing comparisons at AX. So I got the two new triggers. Aside from that, that's pretty much it.
Francisco says harsh light. Yes, Francisco, it was harsh light. You know what's funny, Jason? As soon as I got the AD200s and I posted an Instagram a story on it, they're like, the AD400 gets announced, and I'm like, that's great, it's great. And look at the size comparison; it's not bad. I mean, but there's still some flexibility having a separate smaller body to take if you're going to shoot kind of in a more compact environment there. If you need something more compact to set up, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it's right in between. But I feel like you have two you can put together, make one. I mean, like it still works. Good flexibility to have. Yeah, good flexibility. Cool, good stuff. All right, so let's jump into the chat really quick to see what you guys picked up. Devin Ron, hashtag NewGear pre-order the Atomos Ninja 5. Who knows when I'll get that?
September is the we hear from the CEO.
Is that what they're saying? September?
That's what our guy said.
All right.
That's what
September for the Ninja 5. Got to upgrade our Ninja Stars and our Ninja 2 with that Ninja 5.
Alex Sandoval, NewGear gambling debt.
Ouch.
Alex, what's going on, bro? Come on, man. Keep it together.
Keep it together, dude. There's a lot of fire eBay deals coming up. You need some of that money to buy some new stuff.
Bob Ho, NewGear AX or Anime Expo merch. Does that count? Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Sure. What did you pick up? KD, NewGear. Got my A7 III, 24 to 105 f4, 50 millimeter 1.8. Got some amazing pics in St. Lucia. Very cool.
Awesome.
Francisco Joel Hernandez says, great off-camera flash combo. Well, Francisco, you're using the aperture light now, right? That seems like your main light going on in your portrait shoots.
Ike love corn. Ike love corn. NewGear picked up the 7200 G Master. Looking for an ultra wide zoom now. Trying to figure out if I need the 16 to 35 f2.8 or the f4 will be good enough. I have the f4. Jason has the f2.8.
2.8 is better. Anyway,
F4 is great.
Dennis Ward, NewGear, the first payment on my credit card for the Sony A7 III.
Oh God.
A lot of people who came up to us to say hi at Anime Expo, I think like a majority of them were rocking the A7 III. I see 90% of the people who came up to us. And I'd say probably like 20, 30 people came up. All of them were
a lot of them were like, Jason, want to thank you. You're the reason why I got the A7 III and why I hate Sony. I'm kidding. Why they like So
their spouse was only standing next to them, ready to murder me because they dropped so much money because of my videos.
Tanzel, NewGear, just bought the Sigma 51.4 Art for the A7 III. First lens for my A7 III besides the kit lens. Help because I'm broke, but my pics look nice. Very. It's an awesome lens.
That's all that matters, man. As long as the photos look great, but you're broke as heck. That's all that matters. CF Gamescape, NewGear Westcott Rapid Box XL. Geek Loco, what's your audio setup, guys? The audio is very good. It's the Rode NT USB mic.
Yep.
John Louis Imperio, hashtag NewGear Moza Mini M phone gimbal, can do 300 grams, have wireless charging, and 2x 64 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme Pro SD cards.
Is that Oh, a phone gimbal. Got it.
Yeah.
I thought it was the little mini tripod that Kitty has.
Yeah. Eric Abrahamson, stick with the two 8200s and your 8600, you're covered. Nice.
Yeah,
That's
man.
exactly what. Well,
That's what I got.
only have one 8200.
Gotta get another one.
Let's see here. Ron Lemon just picked up the Sigma 16mm 1.4. Very nice.
Very nice. Using that right now on the stream.
Jung Suk Lee picked up the 24-70 G Master. Need a prime. Looking forward to your 35 1.4 talks. We'll definitely talk about that.
Francisco, first Peak Design bag 20L charcoal.
About Very time, nice. Francisco. Jeez. Hashtag NewGear Abramson Tamron 2075 whenever it's in stock. Facepalm.
Very nice. War Chortle says the Tamron 2075, but didn't update the video firmware.
Oh. Has anyone updated the firmware? Can anyone confirm with us that the autofocus for video is fixed? Because we would like to know. Danny returned his Tamron lens. I have to send mine back to B&H because it was a loaner. So we haven't had the chance or the opportunity yet to update our lens. So let us know if it's been fixed and your thoughts on it. Hunter Bellavance, NewGear, Sony A7 III, Sigma MC11, and the Sigma 14 1.8. Very cool. Jialu, NewGear, picked up the Crane 2 from B&H. First foray to videography. Congratulations. Speaking of Crane 2 from B&H, Crane 2 is on sale right now. You can find that link in the description box below if you want to save $150 on the Crane 2. It's $599 right now, and it comes with the follow focus.
I'm hearing good things. They're saying the Tamron firmware it's working better now.
Very cool.
Flawless. That's good. That's good to know. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. I mean, it's the worst thing that you don't want something. You want them to really do well, because that 28 to 75 is that would be a really great first recommendation lens for new full frame owners after the kit lens or whatever. That's the one I would recommend. So I'm really glad about that.
Francisco Joel Hernandez, aperture lighting is going to be all right for low light scenarios, but in the day, nothing beats OCF like the Godox lights. Ryan 3.0, 16 to 35 G Master, the Zoom magnetic filter adapters that I recommended. Returning the filter adapters, though, can't put the lens cap on the filter adapter. Damn.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
Patrick Bishop got a Ronin S, Benoit Levesque, Sigma 16mm, f1.4. Hashtag APS-C is not dead. I agree.
APS-C is dead.
Mark Wen, NewGear, Sony 35 f1.8. I'm guessing that's obviously for the APS-C OSS. Michael Mishra says,
updated my Tamron 20 to 75, letting Danny touch it. Now it works great again.
Thanks, Michael. I always break everything.
Lost Hero HD NewGear 6500 just picked this up with a Sigma 30mm 1.4, hoping to get similar bokeh with the setup to a full frame setup. Nice.
Might not get the same look, man.
Let's see here. Hashtag NewGear Tanzo BW filter for my Sigma 50. Did I need this? Help, I'm still broke. Always good to have something protective on it.
Yeah, it's fine. Not a bad idea. Wingberg, NewGear, Ultra backpack with the purple interior. That is some fire baggage.
Best camera bag ever, guys. Ultra bag.
That should be on a shirt. Ultra bag for life.
It's a purple shirt.
Oh, dude, that'd be pretty sick. Man. We need that.
Let's see here.
Reyes Murrieta, NewGear Low Pro Tactical 450 and a Zoom H1N.
But it ain't Ultra bag though.
Gosh, yeah.
Harvo Visual Perceptions NewGear 7200 G Master and 85 G Master. Now looking for the 35 1.4. Wow.
Just wait for the 35 1.4 G Master.
Let's see here. Nick Large, APS-C isn't dead. I guarantee the 6700 release this year will be APS-C.
It's going to be.
Cerebus Studios, NewGear, Sony A7 III, and Grade 128GB SD cards. I'm assuming they're SD cards.
Yeah, I wonder about those. No, they also have I'm guessing it's gonna be SD. Former Lexar. That's what it used to be.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think we're all caught up with the hashtag NewGear, guys. Thank you so much for letting us know what you picked up. If you're just joining in, we're going to be jumping into our main topics of the day, our first impressions of the Sigma art lenses for the Sony FE mount. If you haven't dropped a like on this video yet, we would really appreciate it if you did. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So last week, July 4th weekend, Danny and I went to Anime Expo. And for those of you who don't know, Anime Expo is the largest Japanese pop culture convention in the US. So a lot of people were there, a lot of cosplayers were there. And Danny and I had a chance to shoot with the Sigma 35 art, 50 millimeter art, and 85 art. And we got to compare it with the Zeiss 35, 50, and the G Master 85. So we were out there mainly testing out the Sigma lenses. So we're going to be talking about our shooting experience with it. So for Monday Live, I have some previews to share with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and screen share some of the photos that we've taken with the lenses. But in case it is potato quality on your end, there's a link in the description box below that you can actually check out yourself. You can view it high resolution and make the judgment yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen share right now of the photos that we've taken, and we're going to go ahead and talk about our shooting experience with the lenses. Let's see here. Screen share. All right. Cool. So, Danny, we'll start off with you. You got a chance to shoot with, both the lenses. And the picture that I put up right here is with the 50 millimeter from Zeiss and 50 millimeter from Sigma. So on the left, you're going to see the Sigma Art 50. I guess I tagged it wrong. I put 35 on the bottom right here by accident. But both of these are from the 50 millimeter lens. So Danny, just, give us your first impression on them.
On the actual lenses, right?
Yeah. So just shooting experience wise on both Sigma Art and the Zeiss.
So there was one day I just primarily used the Sigma 50 millimeter f1.4, and then I think on our last day I was just shooting with the Sony Zeiss 51.4. Just from the usage, I really did like the rendering that came out of the Sigma 50 1.4, and especially the autofocus areas. Again, I mentioned before in the past, I feel that these are just we're just kind of nitpicking at this point between the two lenses. When I did my review on the 50 millimeter lenses, I did say that I liked the autofocus renderings on the Sigma 50 1.4 versus the Sony Zeiss, although the Sony Zeiss was very good too. And I would say both are really good, but I think between myself and Jason, as we were taking our photos, it appeared from the looks of it that the Sigma 50 was actually doing much better, sharper, wide open than the Sony Zeiss. That was kind of what I noticed. Not saying that was 100% the case, but it seemed as if the Sigma was slightly sharper, which is very interesting because that's different than the results I got out of my initial testing. So I don't know if there's more variation copies out there, but it looked as if the Sigma 50 just sharper out the gate between the two. And then focusing, they seemed similar to me when I was out shooting the portraits. So it didn't feel like one was maybe had a bigger advantage over the other. And we're talking just specifically for photos, since we're just doing portraits. They both seem to be just fine.
So
Jason?
Danny and I kind of had like a little mini argument on the show floor as we were taking this test, because I noticed right off the bat that the Sigma was a tad bit sharper. But Danny, like you mentioned, that when you were doing the 50 millimeter video, you were saying that your copy of the Zeiss was actually a lot sharper over the Sigma 50 millimeter at wide open.
It was close, but the Sony was just a hair sharper out the gate. But as soon as you stop down the Sigma was just on par with just drop it down to 1.8. Basically, it was on par already with the Sony version. But yeah, like I said, this copy that we were looking at, it was very good. And like I say, man, I don't know your guys' thoughts on this. Those of you in the chat, I mean, we're really pulling hair here, like little tiny hairs. They look both very, very good. The results you're going to get out of either lenses look very good in my eyes, but maybe you guys see something different. So,
Cool.
Jason,
So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some of the 85 images right now. And you know what? The thing is, we were just talking about the 50 millimeter, right? But
right?
for me, I felt like even the 35 and the 85 from Sigma was a hair sharper over the Sony counterparts. So you take a look right here, we got the Sigma 85 on the left and the Sony 85 on the right. And to me, it just seems like the Sigma still wins by a hair. They're both incredibly sharp, but I tend to favor the Sigma a little bit more. I mean, Danny, what do you see? What are you seeing right here?
Just on our potato stream on here, the 85 is definitely looking a hair sharper. But I do want to get the opinion from those of you in the chat, especially if you're doing portraits. And I don't know if Francisco's there or not. Do you want just incredible sharpness in your portraits, or would you mind a slight bit of softness? Because when I was going through the images, in some cases, I was like, these lenses are really sharp. And when it gets really sharp, you're going to see a lot of fine detail on people's faces. And that could be a pro and a con, and it might require a little bit more editing to get it the way you want it to be. But I don't know. I love the detail. Just is it what you want? Do you want it to come out really sharp, and maybe have to do some post work on the images? But yeah, to my eye. But I wonder what the chat's thinking right now with the 85 right there. What do you think?
Okay,
Chat.
so I'm gonna stop screen sharing, head back to the chat, and see what you guys have to say. Let's see here.
I can't tell, but we're looking at a potato quality.
Right? Seriously. Let's see. Shout out, Tanzo says, hey, shout out to Mawizi, the best cosplayer. I'm assuming that's one of them. Now we've also have shot both, like all the images that we've shown so far are shot with the A7 R3, so 42 megapixel cameras.
Yes.
Let's see here.
I think there's
Francisco says for the Sakura shots, the left one can have an appearance of being sharper from that little bit of extra light using the off-camera flash. Yeah. That could have been one variable, because like most of the shots that we've taken, and you'll definitely see this from our videos as well, regardless of the light, the Sigma seems to be sharper over the Zeiss.
Emerson Tucker says the general public can't tell, so it's not a big focus for me. I agree, Emerson, 100% on that one. Absolutely. That's just my opinion, though.
I mean, like, if I was looking at the image itself, and I don't think anyone would zoom in that close anyways, a majority of the people wouldn't even zoom in that close, they wouldn't be able to tell if the focus was slightly softer over another lens.
Oh, shoot. Even if you got, like, maybe an eyelash or something like that, I don't think, for the most part, they would really notice. And also, when you add lighting, it's just gonna improve the overall image. For those of you that like to light your subjects, it's just gonna look and pop so much better, in my opinion. There, so
Michael says Dustin felt the same way about the Sony Zeiss was sharper than the Sigma as well.
See,
I guess there is a copy variation, lens copy variations.
See, that's the thing, though. That's what I'm saying. If you really wanted to know how well it was going to do, you'd have to have several lenses of the same kind. If you really wanted it at the end of the day, like to know, hey, it's going to be better or not. But like I said, just from what I saw, the Sigma definitely had appeared sharper out the gate. But like I said, it's wide open. They still look both really good. I mean, it's
Photomiac, extreme sharpness is overrated for portraits. Gilbert Chung says, sharper is better since we can soften later. Francisco Joel Hernandez, I prefer details, but if the price increase is going to be too big, then I'll settle, quote unquote, for the less expensive lens, since both are more than likely going to be sharp and photos can be sharpened.
True.
Let's see here. Katie says, it seemed like the Sigma was more saturated. I did not do anything other than maybe brighten up the images a little bit, just to match up on the exposure. But for the most part, I did not add any saturation to the images. But I did notice that the Sigma was a little bit warmer over the Zeiss. The Zeiss had a bit of a greenish tint, a slight green tint over the photos. I don't know if you noticed that yourself, Danny.
I noticed that there is a slight difference with when I was shooting the 50 millimeter ones. When I was doing my test, there is a slight color shift, but not too crazy. David Osler, hi guys. To be honest, sharpness does not really matter. The thing that is important is the art. No client will tell the difference. Only pixel peepers will.
Yeah, we were pixel peeping pretty hard, but you know, we wanted to make a comparison just for our sake. Let's see here. Or Chorto, I don't have the steadiest hand, so a lens that's a little bit more forgiving, aka image stabilization, is more important to me than razor sharp blade, low f-stops. And June Suck Lee says, I'm kind of liking the color from the Sigma better. I kind of agree. I like the Sigma color a little bit more. Right off the camera, of course. Let's see here. Adrian says, the 85G Master is not sharp wide open at 1.4, in my opinion.
Francisco is also for sharing online. When you resize and downscale the photo, it will appear sharper with 42 megapixels. I've uploaded autofocus shots with my Canon 6D and have had people comment that the shot was so sharp.
That's true. There's oftentimes I upload Instagram photos and it's just like slightly soft on some text or something. But once you put into like a square resolution on your phone, you can barely tell. At that point, I would just up the sharpness. Okay, so we talked about sharpness, right? Did we talk about autofocus yet, Danny?
I talked a little bit about it in terms of just the environmental situations that we were in while shooting at the Anime Expo. I can kind of chime in because, like we said, we were using the 35, the 50, and the 85. For the kind of environment that we were in when we were shooting, I really love the flexibility of the 35 millimeter range. But I don't know if you want to talk specifically about just the autofocusing at this moment, then we'll just talk that, or just more shooting experience before we jump into that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the shooting experience. So,
all right. And you had a chance to use all three, obviously. So
I had a chance to use all three. Yeah.
When we were in, like, because at the expo, at the bottom, or just right where the main entrance section is, where all the cosplayers are at, it's a very tight space. Jason, obviously, right? You can agree on that.
Yeah.
And you want to get some really awesome compositions and portraits with the cosplayers. And I really love shooting, you know, a variety of different styles, a full body, a 2/3, and even a mid shot, so to speak, of the cosplayers. And so if you were using like an 85 millimeter lens, it was extremely tough to even pull off a full body portrait in that kind of tight space. 2/3 was kind of where I would be at, or even closer than that. The 50, I really like the balance with the 50, Jason. I don't know about you, but I was really falling in love with the 50 millimeter in terms of just using it over there, especially with the autofocus areas that I could create with it. The 35, I just love the flexibility. I could go wide, do group shots, and then even recompose really quickly. So for that kind of environment, a 35, I was really digging for Anime Expo. So.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I have some shots right here with the 50 millimeter. I think I shot these with the A9, so they're 24 megapixels. But again, you're gonna see that the 85 would be way too tight, like Danny's saying. It's just hard to shoot, hard to get like full body shots if you wanted to. Whereas the 50 millimeter and the 35 millimeter gives you that little bit of leeway to be closer to the subject, but still get some pretty decent shots. But for the most part, I was only able to get medium shots just because of how tight the spaces are. But wow, I named all these wrong. These are supposed to be 50 millimeter. I apologize for that, guys. These are all 50 millimeter shots. They are not 35. But yeah, like Danny was saying, 35 or 50, it's just perfect. And I feel like in these types of situations, the 1.4 on these lenses just help really just blur out the background, really blur out the distraction, and just focus more on the subject that we're shooting. So these 1.4 lenses are extremely nice in these situations. At least that's in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I really did like the 35, but when you got to the 50 millimeters, that really knocked out that background and really gave you that separation. So I was willing. That's why I shot with the 50 more, because I just love the ability to not get that separation that I wanted. And it was it wasn't so zoomed in that I couldn't work in that particular environment. I just had to back up really carefully. I don't know how many times someone bumped into my bag, and there was one time I thought my bag fell, and I was like, oh my god, you know. But yeah, sorry for anybody that I bumped into over there while we were over there. Oh shoot! All right.
Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna go back to the show notes to see what else we can talk about. Let's talk about a little bit about the form factor, weight and size, because we're talking about workflow.
Yeah.
We enjoy using the lens, but at the same time, is there anything that bugged you about the size or the weight of the lenses, Danny?
Oh, man, you don't remember when? Well, share a little story. When we were doing the test, so when the day first started, I volunteered to shoot first. We wanted to get side-by-side testing, right? We wanted to take a photo with one of the lenses and the other. So we had two camera bodies. We were using two A7R3s. That was our setup. We had the I think we started with the 50, I think, first, or the 35. I don't remember.
We started off with the 50 first, I believe.
So we had the 85 and the 85, and we were such a small crew that at that time I was literally juggling these two massive setups back and forth, and it was so complex. So I was having to hold one camera on my other hand, and shoot and fire. It was so stressful. But as far as the weight concerns are, like I said, I think it just depends on the person, Jason, in terms of the sizing. I'm okay with shooting with those setups. For me personally, I don't have any issues with that, but I was fine with it. That was me. So you'd have to give your thoughts on that setup.
I feel like for 1.4 lenses, I mean, like the size is fair, all but the Sigma 85 1.4. That thing was gargantuan. You like seen photos that if you watch my Instagram story when I put it next to the G Master, that thing is huge. So like I was saying, we were carrying 6 lenses. I was carrying 6 lenses in my backpack, maybe 7 lenses because we need one camera for B-roll. But it's heavy. It gets really heavy. So if you're doing something like what we're doing, like an event coverage, and you're carrying all those heavy lenses, especially with the 85, that weight really just adds up. And I think Danny said his pinky cramped up at some point, right? When you were shooting.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I would attest that because, like I said, we were trying to record some B-roll footage. So there was a cage on the A7R3. My pinky at some point actually cramped up. It was a point where it locked up, where I was like, oh crap, I couldn't even move it anymore because we were shooting so much. I was just having a good time just shooting. But because of the setup, we had the A7R3, we had a small rig cage on it, but it had that rosette placement there, so it kind of made it awkward when I was holding it. But my pinky definitely locked up, man. It was pretty bad. Oh shit. But
yeah,
but you're right, Jason. I would say the 85 is probably the one you have to think about. But if you're just gonna do portraits, like that's your work lens, I really wouldn't have a problem with it. Like if you knew your job, you're going to go, I'm just gonna shoot just with that lens, go for it. If you want that really great quality that the 85 is gonna give you, but I think going with a smaller, and by the way, I shot with the 85 1.8 and the Bodice 85 1.8, and I loved all those as well. And like we've said already, no one's really going to know the difference. So if you have the Bodice 85 or the Sony 85, just, if you want to get that really nice look, just add in some OCF, off-camera lighting, or whatever it's going to be, and you can still get some amazing looks. It's not going to be that much different, in all honesty. I mean, they all looked really great when I was testing all 4 out. So
yeah. And just keep in mind, it was a very situational thing. Obviously, Danny and I were at an event. We weren't doing like a portrait photo shoot. So obviously these lenses, situation is different. Shooting experience will be different if we were to, let's say, just shoot strictly portraits and we have a wide open space versus in a confined space where there's a lot of people. We don't have that room to back up. I mean, that's just our shooting experience. So, let's see, anything else, Danny, before we move on to autofocus speed?
I think that's it for now as far as just experience with them.
Yeah. So autofocus speed wise, I felt the Sigmas did a fairly great job. This is for photos. Snapped on focus extremely quickly. I think, and I can't confirm this yet. I want to try it out again, but there were times where the Sigma 35 would just kind of fall asleep on me. Like it wouldn't focus. I would keep like half holding my shutter and it wouldn't do anything until like maybe 10 seconds later it would start focusing again, which was kind of odd. I don't think I've had that issue with the 50 or the 85, but for sure with the 35. But Danny, did you run into any sort of autofocus hiccup in terms of photos when you were shooting with the lenses?
When we first started, I was just like I said, that first day when we were trying to compare those the 50s, I was just having like, it was just really frustrating because I was having autofocus issues for the most part. But I don't know if that was just how I was handling initially. But after that, it was fine because when we were juggling those two cameras around, when I was having to juggle those two, I felt like the face tracking and the eye autofocus wasn't doing a good job. But the problem is the folks that we were photographing, since they were in costume, and sometimes I don't know if the system had trouble tracking the face. You know what? It's weird too. I don't know if you've experienced it or not, but if someone wears glasses, I've never had the eye autofocus or even the face tracking work very well. Just normally. I don't know what it is, but
So you're saying it happened with both lenses, both the Zeiss and the Sigma?
I felt they were both struggling though. But again, that was like, I don't know if that was more user. I'm going to say half of that was probably my user error, but they felt like they struggled. But then again, like I said, there's a lot of faces there. So if you're using face tracking to some degree, so I started, you recommended kind of, I think, switch over to like zone focusing, because I was shooting it originally kind of like wide and letting the camera kind of find the face. But that's why I did change it up later, kind of moved into zone ranges to kind of zone in on just the face, and it worked a lot better. So I'll just say user error on my part when we first started on the day. And then, but once we kind of honed it in, as far as shooting wise, it got better. When I was just focusing on using the Zeiss on the last day, Jason, it was fine. I didn't have issues with the autofocus at all. It was, but that first day though was.
I guess we were just kind of warming up, so we'll just chalk it up as user error for now.
User error for now. It was fine later on, like the last day or so, last couple days we're shooting.
Yeah. So photo autofocus with 5085 for me, again, pretty solid. Now let's talk about video autofocus. And I guess, Danny, you didn't get a chance to rewatch the footage, but I did. So yesterday we did like a autofocus tracking test for video. Yeah. And let's see here. The 50 and the 85 Sigma kept up really well against the Zeiss and the G Master counterpart. I think it was grabbing focus just as fast as the Sony lenses. Tracking wise, it did struggle a little bit. Like whenever I'm walking away from the camera and walking towards the camera, the Sigma did have a little struggle trying to keep up with me. And you'll see that in a future video. Whereas the Sony lenses did a great job keeping me in focus as I'm approaching the cameras. So the 50 and 85 Sigma aren't bad at grabbing focus, but tracking, it's definitely struggled. With the 35 though, didn't have it was slower at grabbing focus, and obviously tracking, it didn't do so well. But in terms of just like, pointing at something that's not moving and having it grab focus, it does fine, in my opinion, with the Sigma 35. Danny, so was there anything that you noticed with these lenses when you were doing the video autofocus test with me?
I was surprised at how close the performance was with the 1585. It seemed very subtle, like the difference. But again, the Sony native stuff, well, obviously the Sigma is native now, but just the Sony stuff in general was just a little bit more consistent. That's the way I would approach it. But there was one time we were doing some tests. Was it the 85?
It was the 85, and the Sigma 85 actually pulled focus faster than the G Master.
Right.
It did that 4 times, I think 4 or 5 times. I was literally ducking down from the camera like this. I let it focus to the background, pop up again, and the Sigma actually got focus on my face quicker than the G Master. Right. But the strangest thing was when the G Master, I guess, warmed up, it was the same. Both lenses got focus on my face at the same time.
Yeah, when we were doing this test, I was getting kind of alarmed. I was like, okay, wow. I was very shocked. I know the 85 is not, the G Master is not the fastest lens out there, but I would imagine that it should autofocus, pretty good. It's a native lens, right? But yes, initially when Jason was doing his test, when I was looking at the camera, the Sigma was just acquiring focus faster. But like I said, after we did a few times, they both kind of evened out, or, and the Sony picked up. But that was just really strange.
Another thing that I noticed when I was watching back the video autofocus test was that obviously the Zeiss and the G Master lenses, they pull focus a little bit more smoother, like actually really smooth.
Yeah.
Versus the Sigma, it kind of like stutters a little bit. Like it'll focus a little bit, it'll stop, and it'll focus again until it acquires focus. So it's a lot smoother autofocus with the Sony Zeiss. The Sigma does kind of choke a little bit, but it will grab focus.
And speaking of noise, as far as the lenses are concerned, they're all fairly quiet, just from experience alone. Even with the 50 when I was testing it, the sound is it's not completely silent for those of you that are concerned about it, but it's kind of like a soft. I know it's kind of weird trying to make that noise, but it's not like a hard sound that if you've used an EF lens before, like or we're used to like the DSLR lenses, you kind of hear that motor kind of chug a little bit. But with the Sigma Art, the native stuff, it's a very softer sound. You kind of hear like a shifting sound, a very subtle shifting sound, not completely silent, but it's not noisy. Like it's not, predominant noise. It's still, fairly silent, fairly quiet in my opinion there. So that was just for those of you wondering about noise levels. That was the focusing with the video test when we were doing that. So
cool. So
yeah.
Danny, I mean, like for just our first impressions, I know it's hard to make any sort of conclusive thoughts about it, but what did you like more? I mean, like Zeiss 35, Sigma 35, 50s, 85s, like which one do you like more?
Like I've said before, I've had the Sigma 35 1.4 on the Canon when I was shooting Canon. Love that lens focal length, and I really like the Sigma 35. I think I'm personally going to have to do a rental for the 35 Art myself. I mean, I can probably get the 35 that I have because I still have my FE model. Sorry, my EF version of it. I can probably get it sent in to get swapped out. But some people are saying that the autofocusing is a little bit problematic. It was fine for what I was doing for the Anime Expo. I really like the 35 1.4, Jason. That's like the one I really dig. The 50, pretty good too. But I have a Zeiss 55. Oh, shoot. Speaking of the Zeiss 55.
So Danny, I'll let Danny share it.
Should we tangent on that? Well, I don't know.
Let's come back to it. Let's circle back to it.
So let's wrap up then, and then talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Let's just.
Yeah, I like the Sigma 35. That was kind of like, but I really like the 35 and the 50 when I was shooting with it. The 35 and 50.
So you like the Sigma 3550 or just 3550 in general?
Dude, it's tough, man. I can't really say. I can't really say for sure 100%, man.
Yeah. Cool. So I think at Anime Expo, Danny and I kind of agreed that if you're just shooting photos and you want to save on a bit of money, definitely the Sigma Art lenses you can't really go wrong with those. I feel like it performed solidly for the 4 days that we shot at Anime Expo. The focus was great on those lenses in terms of photos. But if you're a video or a hybrid shooter, I think you definitely want to consider the Sony Zeiss lenses because the autofocus is very consistent. It does a really good job in video mode, and focus in photo mode is also very solid as well. So hybrid shooting and video shooting, definitely want to go with Sony Zeiss. But if you're just strictly shooting photos, you can't go wrong with the Sigma Art lenses.
I think if you are going to get an 85, right, and you want hybrid shooting is important to you, I would recommend the Sony 85 1.8. That's a good one to go with. If your camera body has stabilization, which most of them already do, go with that one. The bodice is also another good option as well if you really want to go with the bodice lens. And by the way, the Sony and for those of you wondering, the Sony and the bodice 85, the Sony 85 1.8 and the bodice 85 1.8 perform very good as well. So they're both very fast autofocusing. Just the bodice, big advantage, has stabilization built in. So if that's important to you, then that's one to consider.
Yeah. I'm losing track. Forgot what I was going to say. Okay. Well, anyways, we're going to go ahead and read off some of the comments that you guys left for us about the Sigma and the Zeiss lenses. We'll go ahead and read them off, and then let's see. Oh, Danny, I remember now. I was going to ask you. So I know we touched up on this briefly, talking about shooting 1.4 and 1.8, and that it's okay to shoot 1.8. I mean, like, would you consider the 1.4 for another Anime Expo next year, or you wouldn't mind just sticking with the 1.8 lenses, the 55 1.8 and the 85 1.8?
There's nothing wrong with 1.8. Like I said, it's the 1.8 is fine. It really is. I mean, like I said, we're very spoiled. You know, we have access to that faster glass, and like I said, we're just pulling hairs here with the details. So 1.8 is great. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna go back, I'd like to get I'd like to try the Sigma 105.
Hopefully, we'll get to test that soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, for me, I mean, like if I were to go out and shoot Anime Expo again, in that type of situation, I'd probably just rent the 1.4. But if I decide not to rent, I mean, like I still have the 85-1.8, the 55-1.8, both fantastic lenses. I feel like they both give good enough blurs to the background to really separate the subject. So if you're looking to just, sort of save some money and still get some really good qualities, you can't go wrong with the 1.8 lenses.
Right. And I agree. You don't really need it unless you know you need it. I would just put it that way. The 1.8 is great.
Definitely.
And speaking of 1.8, I had my Sigma 55. I don't know what it is, Jason, but I have a tendency of dropping things. And so on Saturday, was it Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Yeah, I was helping out for this engagement shoot with Jason and his with Eric, right?
Yeah.
And I was there for BTS. So I was recording some BTS for that while they were doing that. And so while I had my bag, my Peak Design Messenger bag, I had the Zeiss 55 just kind of in there. And so I kind of laid my bag down in the back of the car on top of this cooler that Eric had there. And my Zeiss 55 f1.8 rolled out of the bag because the bag was open, the flap was down. The Zeiss 55 1.8 fell to the concrete, probably about, chest height or so. It landed on the concrete and it bounced a couple of times. And Jason well, it's really funny. Like, I was so calm about the whole incident when it fell down to the ground. Jason almost had a heart attack when it happened.
Dude, I freaked out, man. I freaked out, dude. I was like, what dropped? I looked on the floor. It was a lens. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
Right. And so here's this crazy thing, right? And so for those of you wondering about the durability on your Zeiss lenses, and good on Zeiss, this is the lens that fell down chest height onto the concrete. If you can see this, just look at the lens. Do you notice? Does it look like it ever landed onto concrete? And I'll show you the glass. There's a little slight dust there, but this landed on the concrete. Do you notice anything, guys? Imagine there's like a big crack on the back. There's nothing. It literally landed like this. Obviously, the cap's run and everything like that, and it bounced a couple times. There's hardly any scratches or anything. Shot with the autofocus, was testing it out. Everything still looks really good. And I was just blown away. But it was really funny, man. You guys should have been there in person. It would have been so funny if it was recorded. But Jason was just having a panic attack. I was just like, hey, it happens, man. It happens. So
let me tell you, man, if it was my lens, oh, jeez. Funny thing was, okay, you have no scratches. Everything works fine with the lens.
Dude, it's 100. It's like, it doesn't look like anything happened to it. It's ridiculous. I don't know what the hell this aluminum or metal that they had on this exterior, but there's like no resemblance of any scratches at all. It looks exactly the same. Exactly the same.
And the craziest thing is, my 55 fell on grass, and there was a bit of a mark on it.
Oh, really?
That is intense, man.
And by the way, the hood wasn't on here. It was just the body. That's all there was. It was just the body like this. The cap, this wasn't on there. So this didn't even help. It wouldn't have helped it in this situation. Obviously, it was just this. There's nothing.
It's fine.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Drop test 55 Zeiss survived.
Imagine we just do a channel just on drop testing camera lenses. Everyone would hate us, man. It'd be like 1 million dislikes.
It dropped on concrete floor and there were no scratches. There's some divine intervention going on.
I have no idea, dude. I have no idea how it happened. It's ridiculous. First I said, okay, well, I fell. I'll send it into repair. Like, as soon as it happened, I was like, well, crap happens, things happen. But I looked at them like nothing's wrong with it. But maybe there's some decentering now. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll do like a test on it later on and see if there's any like weird things. If there is, I'll send it in for repair. It is what it is.
Yeah,
But
that's the biggest thing that I would worry about. It's just like some internals inside the lens could be screwed up. But
if it was a zoom lens, I'd be a lot more concerned.
yeah.
But since it's a prime lens, well, like I said, I'll test it out and see if there's anything weird that happened. But it looked good. Still looked good.
Awesome possum. Cool. So we're going to read off a few comments about the Zeiss and the Sigma. But while we do that, start queuing up your questions for hashtag QA. We're going to run through some comments about the Sigma and the Zeiss lenses for about a couple of minutes. And then we'll go ahead and jump into hashtag QA.
They're saying, was it in the Altura bag?
No, it was from the Peak Design bag. Messenger bag.
The Altura bag would have saved it, Jason. No, so the setup basically was on a cooler, right? The bag was open like this. Oh god, I can't even. Right, like this.
You need to back up.
And it just rolled. It just rolled out. It rolled out. It rolled out.
Yeah, guys, never lay the messenger bag flat down like that. Always prop it up.
What if we had like the 105, the Sigma one, like the 85? What if it was the 85 Sigma?
Oh my! It's not even mine. It's like a rental too.
With all the glass on that, would have been shattered.
Whew.
I made some dope content, some dope fire content.
Okay, let's go ahead and read a few comments really quickly. Dennis Ford, I only shoot on Zeiss. Currently have the 135, 85, 50, looking to add the 35. But if the Sigma has comparable image quality, I'll definitely switch and save on the money. Very nice. Well, again, it sounds like you have the bodice line. If that's the case, it's really the form factor. You have a super incredibly light lenses. If you swap over to Sigma, you're just going to be putting a lot more weight in your bag. So definitely just keep that in mind.
Wario808 says, if you're going to go that big, for example, like the 85 Sigma, just go for the Sigma 105 1.4. I actually agree with that. I'd rather get the 85 1.8 and then just, in the future, get the 105 1.4 if I'm going to deal with such a massive lens. And I was going to use that specifically for portraits or something. I would go that route for me personally.
Casper 71124 85 G Master for the win. Katie 85 1.8 is my next lens. David Osler, love my bodice 85. Nat Tran says 85 Sony 1.8 is the best bang for your buck. Katie says 85 is tough at an anime event. Smiley face.
It is.
Michael Bistro Pierce. Dustin also said, although the Zeiss was a bit sharper, he said that the Sigma had a bit smoother bokeh versus the Zeiss in his testing. To me, for $500 less, I'm a Sigma fanboy.
They're good stuff. They're good. They're good lenses. Focusing.
They do have their own look. The Zeiss has that 3D pop. Sigma obviously has something with their lenses as well. So I definitely appreciate both lenses. I think they both give off two different looks, in my opinion. But
this is a good question here. Terry J Photography saying, crazy question, but do you feel somewhat slighted by Sigma's design of the recently released lenses? It looks like it's just an MC11 adapter wielded on as opposed to design for the Sony E-mount. For me personally, in my opinion, I don't care. I like I said, I'm used to those lenses, and the look of the lens doesn't really bother me at all. For me, it looks fine. It looks fine to me.
You have to see it in person, because if you're looking only on the press release photos, digital images on the internet, it's kind of misleading, because when I actually held the 35 or the 50 in my lens, yes, it's slightly longer, but it's not that bad. It's just slightly taller than the Zeiss counterparts if you really look at it. And I'll have an image of this coming out fairly soon. But yeah, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, it really isn't. Like I said, it's no problem at all. And I would say, should they have redesigned it with the concept of Sony E-mount in mind? Well, I think their goal was to get. I'm just assuming, right, that their goal was to get some lens options out for Sony shooters, and they already had the optical formula already designed. Again, they did revamp the motor on there so that it would autofocus quieter and a little bit better. So I do have to give them that at least. It wasn't just like it literally design-wise, it looks like the MC11, but they did change some internals to make it work smoother. That's how I would put it.
See here. Rajan Kanan, which is your go-to focal length for portraits? 35, 50, or 85? I'd probably go with the 85 if we're speaking in general.
85s would go to 50 at Anime Expo.
Yeah, honestly, I wanted to get into this topic, but we don't have enough time for today. But we did an engagement shoot with the Sigma lenses as well. The 35 and 85 is a really good pair for portraits. Let's see here. Michael Pierce. The only thing bad about the Sigma is the weight. I'm 50. I'm starting to feel the weight at weddings. Just me. Kevin L. How much larger is the Sigma 85 than this G Master? It is twice the length of a G Master.
It's massive lens, man. It's a massive lens, Kevin.
Let's see here.
Benoit Levesque says, why not just use the 200 millimeter and move your feet? Benoit, I would totally use a 200. I'll just tell everyone, get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, when I was doing BTS for Danny, like when he was shooting with the 85 and he's trying to get that full body shot, he had to back up pretty far. And people were walking into the shot. There's actually people trying to shoot photos as well. They're trying to like snipe him, trying to swoop in after Danny asked for the cosplay.
It's so funny, man. We
had to like push them out of the way. I had to like, excuse me, sir, we got it. We're shooting a photo right now. You have to back up with us.
We'll talk to the cosplayer and say, hey, you want to get some few shots? And we get ready into position. You see, yeah, they snipe in right away. It is what it is. It's just how it works, man. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are too shy to kind of ask. So then, like when others ask, they just kind of like piggyback along. So we had a lot of that with Danny, and I had to be like, hey, you need to back up a little bit because we're getting a shot right here. They're more than welcome to follow us, though.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Casper says 85 G Master is the best. David,
it's very good. It's very good. It's a great lens too.
David Osler says my favorite video lens is 55-1.8. Oh, Tanzo asks, Sigma art lenses aren't good for video? Question mark. I'm hybrid life besides the focus issues. I'm not saying that. Definitely the Sigma art lenses are fantastic for videos. If you're banking on the autofocus for video though, then it's going to lose out to the Sony Zeiss. But if you manual focus, I think it's going to be slightly better over the Sony Zeiss.
Yeah. If you manually focus, the Sigma is what you want. If you're a manual focuser, 100%.
Yes, it's a lot more control versus the Sony Zeiss. They're fly-by-wire. I didn't get a chance to do like a side-by-side comparison, but when I was trying to manual focus with the Sigma lenses, complete and total control. I felt very confident when I was nailing a focus when I'm in manual focus. So
yeah. No, the Sigmas, the focusing is like you would expect on the EF versions. So for manual focusing, we're talking about.
Oh, and we have a $25 super chat donation, and we're gonna be jumping into the Q&A after this. For the love of tech says, great content. Keep it coming. I learned so much from your channel. Helps me so much. My whole channel look changed when I got the A7R III. I'm doing all Sony glass. Scared to switch it up for video. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for the $25. Really appreciate that, man.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Q&A. Left Lieutenant Deadeye, 105 1.4 versus 135 1.8.
Wait, where are we at?
We are at 7:49.
Got it.
Like we were talking about earlier, if we were dealing with space issues, probably go with the 105 1.4 over the 135 because whenever I'm shooting with the 135, if it's not for weddings, if it's just like out and about general photography, the 135 is extremely tight. It's hard for me to shoot. I would have to back up a whole lot. I feel like between that and the 85, I would probably go with the 85 more. If you're looking for something in between, the 105 could be pretty good. But then again, I haven't really shot with it yet.
Yeah, I haven't shot with either of those two lenses, unfortunately, but maybe we will soon.
Hopefully. Ross McIntyre. Is nobody interested in the 100mm STF? I've only shot with it for the month that it came out last year. But again, it's an STF lens, so it gives you that 2.8 blur, but the light that comes in is like a 5.6. I don't know how to explain that well, but essentially you're going to need to have a lot of light when you're shooting with that lens. And unfortunately, I'm in this situation where I don't have a lot of light to work with, so I can't really use that lens too often.
All right, Rajan's asking Q&A, which is the better lens between the Sigma 35 Art and the Zeiss 35 1.4? I think the biggest takeaway, I would say on my end, is the price. I think the Sigma, I think for video wise, if you're just doing photos in general, I think the Sigma 35 1.4 is going to be good enough for the price you're getting it for. Whether it's worth getting the Zeiss 35, I don't think it's worth it. But
cool.
Yeah, that's what I would
Josh, say. O2, was Sigma planning on making an entire new line of lenses for Sony E-mount? ? Are you saying like converting their art lenses into even smaller? I don't know. They didn't say anything about it, and I really don't think. I think this is it right here. This is.
I'm just like, how are you going to make the 1.4 smaller? I mean, you have a lot of glass to work with, and I think what Sigma's motto is they want to put as the best that they can, right? And so you just have to deal with the larger sizes.
I Asperity had my 16-35 G Master rode out of my Peak Design bag because I forgot to close the zipper.
Ooh.
My lens hood got jammed and a portion of the plastic cracked off.
But
it still works perfectly.
Oh my god!
You guys, who else have dropped their stuff? Let us know in the chat.
Wingbird says nothing to say about the lenses, but really wants some pastrami right now because of this live stream. Dude, I gotta get some more. Boris says, "I love you guys." Boris, where were you, man? That was like your event.
Seriously, the entire time we were shooting, we're just like,
I was like,
"Where's Boris?
Where's Boris? Should be here." Gotta learn from the master.
Rap pasta. Should I sell my Zeiss 24-70 for a 25 bodice? Wow, you are trading in versatility for a single prime lens. So if you feel like you don't really utilize the range beyond 24, then absolutely. But if you find yourself being very versatile with that zoom lens, then I'd probably reconsider.
I mean, unless you have like an 85 already, Rapasta, because the Zeiss 24-70 is an f4 lens, so the bodice 25 is an f2.8. Maybe if you have like another 80, if you have an 85 1.8, maybe I would say.
Chris Barr says, I think it's okay. I don't pixel peep though. I slapped on the f4 to make sure it's at its sharpest. Very cool. Francisco Joel Hernandez, QA, if you had to choose one Zeiss lens to start off for portraits, which would you suggest? Always been scared of Zeiss with their prices. The 55-1.8 I used last month was amazing.
Francisco, after I dropped my Zeiss 55 and I think the Zeiss 55 is pretty good, but if I was just going to do portraits, like portraits was the thing, I would go the Sony 85 1.8 just for it's a very fast lens, man. Focusing speed. The Zeiss 55 is also very good too, but I would go with the 85. I would say the 55 is really good for tighter environments. Obviously, the 85 is what I would go with. But he says Zeiss though, so
bodice.
I would instead of, if you're looking at the, I would go with the Zeiss 55 1.8. If we're talking about Zeiss.
All right, so we are at 8 o'clock. We're gonna hang on for another 4 or 5 minutes or so. So we're gonna blaze through some of these questions. Let's see here.
Law Tenza says, "How many lenses do you both own, and how many are Sony?" Oh God. Jason saw my Pelican case yesterday. He was like,
I counted like 14 lenses. Well, 14 slots. So he could have more than that. I don't know if he brought his entire arsenal to my house.
It's a lot of lenses, Law.
Yeah, a lot of
cheapo lenses, man, because the APS-C is not dead. All right. Lucky's asking, are we going to investigate the 28 to 75? Potentially, yes.
Yeah. The Garmin family experience Autochrome slider 1 motion or the Shark slider? I'm going to go with the Shark slider. Let's see. QA, Terry Ling, Zeiss 18 bodice or Sony. Zeiss 18 plus the 35 2.8 or G Master 16 to 35 2.8. The first combo and the G Master zooms share almost the same price. Any suggestion on how to choose? I don't know what you're shooting, but if you're shooting a lot more events where you need to switch lenses out a lot, probably be better to go with the 16 to 35. If you have a lot more time to actually switch out lenses, then go with the prime lenses.
I would just go for the 16 to 35, man. You know why? Because unless one of those lenses were like a 1.4, then maybe consider it. At that point, I would go with the.
Makes a lot of sense. If we're talking about gimbal lenses, then definitely the 18 and the 35.
I don't own the G Master, but Jason does.
Michael Mistro, thank you for the $10 super chat donation.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it, man.
Let's see.
He should have came out there.
You there. Let's see here. Hashtag QA. Herrusiloto. I can't pronounce your name. I'm terribly sorry about that. But I have the 55-1A 28f2 and a Rokinon 14-2.8. I'm seriously considering trading my kit to those Sigma lenses FE. Am I crazy? I do mostly video. The mechanical manual focus got me. I mean, if you prefer to do manual focus yourself.
Yes, you need Sigma's good.
Sigma.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's good.
QA, John Lee, Ronin S or Zhiyun 2? I'm biased. I'm going to have to go with Zhiyun 2, but really they're both.
I haven't used the Ronin S myself, so I can't really comment.
Both are great though. QA, for review shots, would you use a slider or a gimbal shot that emulates a slider? Honestly, at this time, we can just skip out on the slider for the most part, just because the gimbal just makes everything so damn easy. Slider, you have to take more time to set up the shot, set up the tripod. It's just way too annoying. Go for the gimbal. QA, did I miss the part where Danny finds out something wrong with the Sigma lenses? Hashtag SigmaGate.
No, Jason, they're all pretty good, man. It's just autofocusing in video is kind of where it's slightly off, but I enjoyed using Sigma lenses.
Tanzo, can you put the Sigma 50 on the A7 III on the Zhiyun Crane Plus without any weights? I think it's going to be a little too heavy for the Crane Plus. Elson Alonso, do you guys have any fancy camera storage boxes to store your camera gear and keep it safe, or do you just keep it in a Pelican or a bookshelf? I keep it in like IKEA dividers.
I just have I have like a few Pelican cases. I keep them in. And then I have shelves that I'll put the lenses on depending on if I'm going to be using them out or whatever. So the Pelican case is where I put them in.
QA, why are most video lenses set to manual focus? It's almost like photographers care about AF more. Is AF not that important in video? Definitely, AF is starting to be very handy for videos, especially when you're using stabilizers, steady cams, and all that, just because it eliminates the having an extra person controlling the focus, so definitely having autofocus on a lens is helpful for video. But for the most part, yes, having, I think like a lot of filmmakers, especially movies, they would use cinema lenses, manual focus lenses.
NZO CEO says, any benefit to using the full frame Sigma art lenses on an APS-C body as opposed to the Sigma DC DN lenses? I don't think there's. That's a tough one. I would still stick with the APS-C glass only because it matches the size of the body, and you're losing out since you're only cropping into the lens itself on the full frame glass. You're not taking full advantage of the actual lens itself. So if you're looking to upgrade soon to full frame, then sure, get the full frame APS, the full frame Sigma glass. But for the most part, I would stick with APS-C glass there.
See here. Hashtag QA, Garmin family experience. Jason, do you prefer a PC for editing or a Mac? Which software do you edit now with? PC for Premiere Pro. Yeah.
I use Premiere. But maybe I switch over to Final Cut someday. I don't know. For me, I don't know yet. Premiere though. Premiere's big for me.
Yeah, let's see. I'm looking for hashtag QA UVMI. Should I buy all the Zeiss Batis lenses B&H kit for a new Sony A7 III or mix it with other lenses? Could the full Batis suite cover all non-professional uses, beginning video and photography? If you're just beginning video and photography, I would honestly just recommend going with the zoom lenses instead. It'll make your life a lot easier. Roberto Lindo, QA, what do you guys think of the Sony 24-105 versus the Tamron 20-75 with the firmware update for 6300?
the 24-105 has a stabilization, so there's a little benefit in that with the 6300. But the Tamron is a lighter lens. I would rather have, I want to say lighter, but it's more conformed in size. That's a tough one, man. It's tough questions. F2 one stop of light's big for APS-C. So if you need stabilization, you got to go 24-105. If you don't need a stabilization, you can use a gimbal or a tripod, the 28-75. There you go.
And it's really hard. It's a really tough range to work with, 20 to 75 on an APS-C. That you're getting close to like a 50 to like 105. So just be prepared for that. If you're looking for something wider to a more telephoto range, 16 to 70 f4 is a great choice. 18 to 105 is also a great choice. Our Productions, Corey asks, can I balance my Ursa Mini Pro with a 7200 on the Crane 2? You most definitely can not.
Oh, shit.
Hashtag QA. Cody, was I supposed to put hashtag QA for my questions? It will help us look for your questions a lot easier.
Yeah. Cody Machardi, I'm about to get the 100 to 400 G Master. I currently have the 2470 G Master, 85, 14 2.8, and A50. I mostly shoot weddings, vlog content, commercials, but want to talk me out of it. Cody, get the 100 to 400 G Master. just kidding.
Wow.
You probably don't need it for your content, though, to be perfectly honest, though.
Yeah,
if you shoot sports, wildlife.
Yeah, you shoot mostly weddings. That's pretty good already. Maybe a 7200 instead.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, just a few more questions and we'll be out of here. Hashtag QA. I only use AFC on video for interviews. Do you guys think the Sigma Art FE performs the same as the Zeiss lenses for those kinds of situations? I mean, if they're just talking heads, they're not like walking back and forth towards the camera or backwards from the camera, I think it's fine. But I haven't really used it in that situation yet, so I can't say for sure.
We already read out Francisco's.
Oh, Francisco Joel Hernandez coming in clutch with that $10 super chat donation. You guys are both legit. Thank you, Francisco. You're pretty legit.
I do want to see Francisco at Anime Expo next year, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be lit.
It's literally just, you want to just shoot portraits, it's the place to be. It's the place to be there. So
Francisco actually went to some sort of comic convention in New York before, right? And yeah, it'd be interesting. I bet you he wouldn't be able to shoot any portraits out there because everyone's gonna swarm him. Oh my God, Francisco Joel Hernandez. By the way, for those of you who saw us at Anime Expo, we really appreciate you guys coming up and saying that.
Absolutely.
All right.
It was funny. There was one person that was like, did you make this? They went up to me and they said, did you make this video? And they were holding their phone out. And I'm like, yes. Are you that one camera guy? I'm like, yeah.
Is this you? No, there was someone who like was walking past us. He was looking right at me and he was like, hey, you're that camera guy, right? And I was like,
he looked at me first though. He was actually, never mind, man.
I don't know. He looked at me.
I acknowledged him, but you guys made it seem like I just ignored the guy.
No, I didn't. No, you didn't ignore the guy. I was thinking the guy confused me as you. So I was just like, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna commit to it. Yeah, I'm that one camera guy. Hilarious. Vegan Chasers QA, should I trade my 28 f2 Sony for the Tamron 2075 f2.8? I wanted a gimbal lens. Here in the Tamron, it's light. Yeah. That works well too. If the autofocus is fixed, yes.
Yeah.
QA.
Corey's like, Danny doesn't acknowledge people in public.
Danny, no.
Corey, man.
What do you guys prefer, 85 or 135?
Corey, I was looking through the footage, man. Some dope stuff, man. I was looking at it. It's fire content, man. Appreciate it, Corey.
To answer Danny's question, 85 definitely. I think it's a lot more convenient over the 135 in general.
Yeah, more space, 135, but 85 is great.
Okay, last question. Hashtag QA from Fantasy Media. I just got the A7R3 along with the 24-70 G Master. I'm still starting off, but I'm doing cosplay photography as well as cosplay music video. What other lenses should I invest in? Okay, so I think the 24-70 is honestly good enough. I think if you're working in a tight space, maybe a wide lens like an 18mm bodice.
I would say a 51.4, 50. Something like that, or even lighting. I don't know if you're just looking at lenses, but maybe some lighting. be something to consider if you don't already have that.
Yeah, totally. I think yeah, maybe a 51.4 will add a bit of an interesting look to your video as well. That's pretty much it. Okay, so Danny, we're coming close to the end of the show. Ran a little late, but is there anything that the folks out here can expect from you?
I'm working on an 85 comparison video, all 4 of them, and I'll probably talk a little bit about lighting in another video. But definitely that's what's on the horizon. And then we have, before we take off today, guys, I think we might have a meetup in San Diego, potentially. Jason,
Oh yeah,
is that?
yeah. So Danny and I will be in San Diego this weekend. This meetup on Sunday or Saturday? What should we make it?
Shoot. Guys, is anyone in San Diego right now that would like to have a meetup Saturday or Sunday? What day would you guys pick? We'll ask if there's anybody in San Diego.
Should we like mention the venue right now?
Like the spot we would meet at?
Yeah.
If you know for sure what it's going to be. Was it Balboa?
Was it Balboa or is it the camera store?
I don't know. That's not confirmed yet.
Okay. All right. We'll let you guys know, but I think let's have the meetup on Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome stuff.
Just be on the lookout for that as far as information about a meetup in San Diego, guys. For those of you that are in the area.
Follow us on Instagram. Mine's at Jason V Media. Danny's at That One Camera Guy. We'll have something about that pretty soon within the next few days. I'll also post it in my community tab as well on YouTube, so be on the lookout for that.
All right.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for watching another Monday Live. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'll have the time codes up fairly soon. We'll catch you guys on Danny's channel for the next Monday Live next week. Peace.
Peace. See you guys later.